Welcome to another IELTS speaking video for part 2 and 3 on the topic of wasting time. Here we will be looking at some Band 9 responses to these different parts. Here is the part 2 topic about wasting time. You should describe an activity you do that wastes your time. You should say what it is, when do you usually do it, why do you do it, and explain why you think it wastes your time. Remember in part 2 that you have 1 minute to prepare with a paper and a pencil, and up to 2 minutes to present your answer. Now, let's look at a Band 9 response to this part 2 topic. I try to be as efficient as possible with my time, but of course, there sometimes are moments when I don't use it properly. Just about every evening, I try to schedule a few hours for some solid work on my homework or other things that I want or need to do. However, because I can lose concentration occasionally, I'm not always working as hard as I wish for. After saying this, I don't feel like I'm the only person who feels alone about this, as I've heard my friends mention this as well. Usually, about 1 or 2 hours after supper, I feel a bit sleepy and tell myself to take a 10 to 15-minute break, which is fine. Since I'm usually sitting in front of the computer, my first go-to method to relax often is watching videos on YouTube. I usually tell myself, okay, let's just watch one short video and then return back to my work. And yet, I get tempted to watch a second or even third video, and then suddenly my harmless 15-minute break can turn into an hour or longer of unproductive activity. I usually feel disappointed that I do this, but it's difficult for me to stop. Videos on this platform are so addictive, and maybe this is because there always seems to be an attractive option popping up on my screen. There are so many interesting choices on YouTube to watch, including comedies, documentaries, podcasts, you name it. I wish I had more control over myself, but right now I'm fighting an uphill battle when it comes to this unfortunate time-wasting activity. I'm glad, though, that my work hasn't suffered too much because of this flaw. Thank you for listening. All right, now let's turn to part 3, which is related to time-wasting topic. First question. What activities do people in your country do that take a lot of time? Well, I suppose that depends on the individual, but I know many who have to spend a lot of time commuting back and forth to work. Due to the heavy traffic during peak hours and living far away, a lot of people may spend more than 2 hours a day doing this. It's a shame that people have to face this reality. Another time-absorbing activity that I notice is time spent on social media. Just go walking outside, and very soon it'll be so easy to spot people so glued to their mobile phones. And that's likely because of their addiction to this technology. Notice the different idioms here. So when you're going back and forth, you're going from home to work or home to school, school to home. Face this reality, something that is necessary for people to do. Maybe they don't like it, but they have to. Time absorbing, it uses up a lot of time. It's a shame that, it's a pity. Easy to spot, easy to see, so glued. It's another way of saying addicted to. Okay, let's go on to the second question. How can people try to reduce the amount of time they spend on doing something? I think mental discipline might be the solution for using time wisely. People who stick to a strict schedule and continually remind themselves to follow it closely are less likely to procrastinate and waste their time on unproductive activities. Setting some goals, for example, how long an activity should take to do will give them more motivation to focus and complete their tasks in a timely fashion. Of course, to have a good mental discipline also requires other things such as a healthy diet and sound sleep. So here, some good use of collocation means words going together, setting some goals, stick to a strict schedule. Do you stick to a strict schedule? It means you don't make any changes to your plans. Have a good mental discipline. That means you think seriously. You are maybe 100% effective. You don't let anything bother you. Sound sleep means to sleep well. Okay, 3. Do you think most people balance work and life well? No, I don't think so. It's sad to say, but it appears necessary for a lot of people to have to spend long days at work, which in turn will reduce their amount of time with family. When this happens, they'll often be so tired that their living quality will suffer, and this has a direct negative impact on the whole family. But this is not only the case for workers too, as there's a lot of competition for students to succeed in school. They'll typically spend a great part of their after-school time focused on studies. The dreaded cycle seems never-ending. So some good um, words here that are more natural sounding. So it's sad to say. It's another way of saying unfortunately. And here, these ideas, these connectives help make your answer flow when you say these phrases here. So that's good for your fluency score. 4. What things can cause people to feel stress or pressure? A couple of things immediately pop into my mind when thinking about this. One of them, I believe, is deadlines. When people are expected to have a certain task completed at a defined time, that can give them pressure, especially if other tasks keep on piling on too. Another thing that usually stresses people is competition. It may not always be negative stress, but occasionally people may worry about their own performance and compare themselves to others unfavorably. To be sure, there are other things that can stress people too, but these two seem like the main culprits to me. So here we started with a kind of memorized phrase that you can use for a lot of part 3 answers, and also ended with one that matches each other. And these memorized phrases are not very common, so maybe the examiner won't recognize it. So it's one thing to help you to be more fluent and build confidence when you're answering questions. All right, 5. Why do some people choose not to obey or follow rules? I'm not sure exactly. Maybe it's because it's just a natural human characteristic. I mean, if people feel they won't get caught, then they could be tempted to break a rule, especially if it has very little consequence to others. Take driving, for example. To many, it seems ridiculous to follow the speed limit on a quiet, empty road. Also, I think people sometimes have very little time and they'll have to cut corners and find the easier way to get things done. This lazy approach has a tendency to result in rule-breaking behavior. At least that's how I think about this situation. So notice these more natural expressions to introduce language. I'm not sure. I mean, at least that's how I think. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.